From the studios of the Richmond Register, it's this week's edition of the Richmond Register Sports Show. Every Thursday night at 9 o'clock, Richmond Register Sports Editor Nathan Hutchinson and Richmond Register Sports Writer Ricky Barker will talk about this week in Madison County sports. Welcome to the show.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Nuevo Vallarta, a neighborhood restaurant with indoor and patio seating, a family-friendly environment, and quality, authentic Mexican food at reasonable prices. Nuevo Vallarta.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Richmond Register Sports Show. I am Richmond Register Sports Editor Nathan Hutchinson, and this week we are joined by a special guest. We have Eastern Progress Sports Editor Zach Cumbest, and unfortunately Ricky Barker was a bit sick this week, so Zach was very nice to step in and help us out here. Yeah. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've been around him for a couple of years now. He does a great job over there. They do a great job covering Eastern sports, and so you were the first person I thought of.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate that.
You guys do a lot of this at the Progress. You guys do a lot of podcasts and stuff, and tell us about what you do over there.
Yeah, we have a sports podcast, Epic Sports Podcast. We host it every week, about an hour-long podcast about local sports, but also NFL, pro sports, and college football right now. It's a big thing, so we talk about that like around the state, college football. So it's a lot of fun. Progress is a weekly newspaper, comes out on campus every week. Sports is always busy time of the year, especially this time of the year with soccer just wrapping up, volleyball in full swing, basketball starting up, and now football. So a lot of stuff going on at EKU, but it's fun.
Yeah. Is it easternprogress.com? Is that where they can get all the podcasts?
easternprogress.com. Go get podcasts there, videos, articles, all kinds of stuff there, yeah.
Excellent. And we will... we had Eastern Media Day, the Basketball Media Day on Monday, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And we also will have a special guest tonight is EKU football coach Mark Elder, and they had a big win last weekend in some horrible conditions.
Yeah, it was rough.
Up in Eastern Illinois. I'm glad neither one of us were there.
Yeah.
So, but we got a lot of stuff to cover before we get Mark in here, and we'll kind of roll through this real quick. But there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the high school sports scene. Just on Monday night, we had history made down in Berea. The Madison Southern girls volleyball team. For the first time ever, got past the first round of the 11th region tournament. It was something those girls have been kind of shooting for a long time. They had not won a district championship since 2006. They did that last week, and then so this week they were the goal turned to winning an 11th region tournament game, and they did that for the first time. They beat Western Hills 3-1. Those two teams had actually played in the very first game of the season back on October 20th in Berea on the same court. The rematch was a little tougher. Southern won the first meeting 3-0, but the second one was 3-1 down there on Wednesday night or on Monday night, and Southern won the first set. Western Hills came back and won the second, so it was quite a battle. Sarah Mitchell had 38 digs, 23 kills. Alyssa Evans 18 digs, 15 kills, and 2 blocks, and it was a very historic moment for those young ladies, and something that program has been waiting for a long time. They not only never won a match at the region tournament, they'd only won one set ever at the region tournament. So after the big win, we got a chance to talk to some of those young ladies, and here's what they had to say. All right, we're here in Berea with the Madison Southern girls volleyball team. They have just won their first ever 11th region tournament match.
Hey!
That was obviously the coach was saying. Coach Grant was saying before. This was you guys wanted to win the district, but this was the bigger goal you guys wanted all year. Can you talk about it?
Yes, we have actually been talking about this game since this summer when we had conditioning, and this has been our goal. And the last game, the district game, was just a stair step just to this game, and this is just so exciting. Yeah.
It was a hard-fought 4-set battle, and you ended up having the match-winning kill.
Yeah, I did. I was very nervous, but I was just hoping for it to go in. So, yeah.
Okay. Hannah, I need to introduce everybody here, but Hannah Martin, Avery St. John, Easterling, Julia Bingham, Autumn Griffith. So, Hannah, you're one of the seniors too. Talk about what the journey's been like to get to this point.
It's crazy because ever since I was in middle school, this is all we've been talking about and all we've been working on, and it is feels awesome to finally be able to achieve this goal that we've had for so long, and we're just so happy and we're ready to keep going.
Yes.
Julia, what was the message after you lost the second set? You guys won the first set, lost the second, and then won the final two. So what was the message after the second?
He just wanted us to bring it back together because he knew we could do it, we knew we could do it, and so we just wanted to keep our adrenaline running so that we could win.
It was tight even in the fourth set there. Kind of what were the feelings going through that fourth set?
I'm just happy we pulled it off. We've been working on this forever. I feel like this has been our most successful season ever, honestly, in the school. And it's just crazy how much everybody's grown over the years. They're all seniors now, and they started in middle school, and it's just wow.
All right, well, you guys, that ties the school record for wins, and obviously, like I said, your first region tournament win. So you'll play either Henry Clay or Tate's Creek on tomorrow night. So we'll see you guys in Lexington. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Obviously, you could tell how happy they were. That was a great moment for those girls. Unfortunately, the next night they had to play state powerhouse Henry Clay in the semifinals of the 11th region, and they went down 3-0 up in Lexington. That was at Tate's Creek High School. So the season comes to an end with 28 wins. That ties the school record.
That's pretty good.
And in the 3-0 loss on Tuesday night, Sarah Mitchell did go over 1,000 digs, so she was the only player in school history with 1,000 kills and 1,000 digs. So congratulations to her. She is going to sign with Eastern. So,
awesome. So
you'll see her over there at McBrayer Arena.
That'll be good. Yeah, I'll be covering her a lot. Yeah.
Also on Monday night in the first round of the 11th region, Madison Central went up to Dunbar and they suffered a 3-0 loss, which brought their season to an end. So they finished the season at 7-28, and they will move on from there. The big news, another big thing that happened last weekend, and actually will go on this weekend, is high school cross country. You had the regionals last weekend, and which leads into the state cross-country meet. You've covered the state cross-country meet.
I covered that my senior in high school. It was a lot of fun. Get to cover, I think we had 5 or 6 cross-country runners at state. So it was pretty awesome to cover all them people. None of them won or did too well, but it was still a good time for them, good experience for them. But yeah, it's always tough competition at state, though.
And it's crazy. You get the 6 races, the boys and girls, A2, A and 3A all day long, and it starts off at really early in the morning, and it's just tons of people out at the horse park, and it's a crazy atmosphere. And we will have plenty of Madison County representatives here this year, and that's because the Madison Central boys went down to Monticello over the weekend on Saturday, and for the 3rd straight year they won the Class 3A Region 7 title. Just dominated the field. Senior Connor O'Shea took first place, set a course record. Kyler Stewart was second. Brady Masters was second. Kyler Stewart was third. Noah Halloran was 8th. The Central girls finished 3rd, but of course, fabulous freshman Kiera O'Shea just blew away the field as she usually does. Won by over a minute over a girl from South Laurel. So she will go back, and she actually is the defending, last year as an 8th grader, won the Class 3A state cross-country championship. So she will go back and try to defend that title again this year. Like I said, Central girls finished 3rd. Amelia Reynolds was 10th. Jamie Google was 14th. Both those teams will advance to the Class 3A meet on Saturday at the Horse Park. That's the last of the 3. I think the boys go off at 1:30. The girls go off at 2:15. So we'll have to see if there's a really good chance that obviously Kiera can repeat, and there's a very, very good chance that Connor can win the state championship as well. So that would be a very cool thing if the two, the brother and the sister combo there could sweep the 3A championships. Yeah. We also did have a couple of kids that will actually compete in the Class A race on Saturday morning. Models Colton Coyer finished 12th at the Class A Region 5 meet in Paris on Saturday. And Berea's Sawyer Bailey finished 19th, and he will also be going on to the state championships as well. So there'll be kids from 3 of the 4 Madison County schools up at the Horse Park on Saturday competing for state championships. So good luck to all of those guys, and I will be there, and as soon as that gets done, I'm going to run over to Eastern to catch up with the football team, because that's you hold down the fort for me. I'll be there as soon as I can. Transitioning into high school football, it's kind of a rough week for the local schools. We only had the 2 teams in action, but neither one of them fared very well, unfortunately. Madison Central wrapped up district play with a 23-7 loss to Bryan Station on Friday night. Really kind of a tough loss in a lot of ways. They just could not get the offense going again, and had a couple of really key players get hurt as well. Junior quarterback Cannon Centers and senior defensive back Deshaun Gowdy both suffered what looked like pretty bad knee injuries, and I don't know if we'll get to see either one of those kids for the rest of the year or not, hopefully, but it doesn't look too promising. Adrian Sweat did have a rushing touchdown in the first half that kind of kept the Indians in it, and Adrian Parks had 61 yards rushing, but just couldn't get anything going on a cold, sloppy night over there on senior night at Central. So unfortunately, the Indians fall to 1-8. They'll wrap up the regular season this Friday down at Southwestern. And the loss to Bryan Station drops them to 0-3 in the district. That means they will be the 4 seed, and they will go back over to Clark County in 2 weeks to play the GRC, which is, the two potential opponents they could have had were Oldham County and GRC. They actually played Oldham County, or they played GRC much tougher than they played Oldham County. So that was a 42-34 game. So maybe not a bad thing to get GRC, a team that they played pretty well against just a couple of weeks ago. The Berea Pirates, really after a really great start to the season, really rough times, they dropped their 3rd straight and 34-0 at home to Frankfurt. It was it's kind of they had injury problems as well, but they had some injury problems that happened during the week. Quarterback Jalen Whitaker was out. They had to change over to Cody Moore at quarterback, who played there last year, but just could not get anything going offensively at all, and had some key players out on defense as well. So that really kind of led to what was a pretty lopsided loss there at home, and they played in those same conditions but on a grass field, so you can imagine what that was like.
Probably a mess, yeah.
Down there on Friday night. So they do fall to 0-3 in district, and they will play they wrap up the regular season this weekend at home against Jellicoe, Tennessee, a team they beat last year. And then 2 weeks from now, they will play Kentucky Country Day, undefeated 9-0 Kentucky Country Day in the first round of the playoffs up in Louisville. So that'll be a tough road for them. Southern had the week off after finishing up their district play. They went through district play 3-1, and they ended up with the 2 seed in their district, and they will play Woodford County in 2 weeks at home. But before that, they needed a week off because you got 9-0 undefeated juggernaut Boyle County coming in Friday night, and I mean, the kid, the quarterback going to Notre Dame is an unbelievable player. Oh
yeah, for sure. And to be able to go to Notre Dame, you have to be a high elite caliber person to go there, and quarterback especially. So it's pretty big.
As Reed Lanter, he's 2,000 passing yards on the season, 24 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So we'll have to see how Southern approaches that game if they want to. I heard somebody pontificate that maybe or speculate that maybe they wouldn't play any of their starters and they would just kind of rest everybody up and coast into the playoffs. But I can't imagine them not putting up a fight.
You got to put up a fight. Just to be able to get them, see if you can make them 9-1. So that'll be big if they can upset them and knock them off, and especially against a good quarterback going to Notre Dame. So
you'd want that challenge.
Yeah, you'd want that challenge.
Hey, come on, let's go.
For sure.
You wouldn't want to just go limp into the playoffs. But who knows? Hopefully they had a week off leading up to that, so hopefully they're healthy and they're ready to go, and they'll go out there and maybe can pull off what would be a huge upset. I mean, they've got the potential. They score a lot of points. Southern does. So it's so we'll see what happens there. But I think John Clark and the guys will want to put up a fight, and I don't think they'll want to limp into the playoffs. So. Well, we talked about it at the beginning there a little bit, but the EKU football team took that long road trip to Charleston, Illinois. And just unbelievably horrible conditions.
Awful conditions,
I turned on the ESPN Plus broadcast, and it looked like the field looked like a lake. There was literally standing water all over the field, and I'd never seen anything like that. It's a turf field, but it was raining so hard that the turf, the drainage system just could not handle the amount of rain that was going on. And it was unbelievable.
It's like Sam Hayworth said at the Monday press conference that he had to move the ball over doing kicking field goals because it was just puddles at the hash marks. So it was just rough conditions all around, like 10 fans in the crowd, I bet. So it was an 0-8 Eastern Illinois team too. So that's probably why a low fan crowd, but that rain didn't help at all. And but Eastern came in on top though, a good win for them, 33-6. Especially, it's always good in OVC to get a win because right now it is bottleneck in the OVC standings. So they need to win out the season. Really need as many wins as they can get to hopefully win the OVC championship.
An unbelievable effort from the defense in those conditions to give up 89 yards of offense, a bunch of which. About half of which came on the last drive of the game after they had their reserve players in. So really, I think at one point Eastern, after the last field goal, had 33 points, and Eastern Illinois had 34 yards of offense. So that tells you the kind of dominating performance that the defense put together on just a ridiculous day. I mean, I guess you got to play. I guess there's nothing you can do.
You got to play in that conditions. And
in the second half, it did stop, and the puddles did actually kind of clear up when the rain actually. Let up enough that they could the drainage system could actually start draining a little bit. But Lonzo Booth had his 11th rushing touchdown, which is the OVC lead. And like we talked about, Sam Hayward had 4 field goals and three extra points, which was just 1 point short of the kicking point record in the game. I guess it was 16 a long time ago. quarterback Parker McKinney rushed for a touchdown. Elias Kane had a rushing touchdown as well, but it was really the defense that was the story
huge,
of the day.
For sure. Only allowing 89 yards of total offense is really big. They just shut them down all the way from start to end. So it was really overall well performance by that defense.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, it's crazy at the top of the league right now. UT Martin at 4-1, and then 3 teams at 3-1.
Yes.
That's Eastern, Austin P, and SEMO. And of course, 2 of those 3 teams meet Saturday at Roy Kidd Stadium, Austin P and EKU. So I'm maybe not say elimination game yet, but obviously this is a game that
it's a huge game.
Will separate somebody, and that could vault them into first place or maybe down to 4th place. And of course, you got Jacksonville State sitting there at 3-2 as well, which you can't ever overlook those guys. They've won 5 straight OVC titles, and it has
been a down year for them though this year.
Yeah,
so
it's been surprising.
The OVC is a lot more equal this year than it has been in previous years. So, but they're still a team to watch out for. They can sneak up on you quick.
Yeah, P actually beat those guys by about 30 points a couple weeks back. So. It's been crazy, and Martin went out 4-0, and we thought they were the front runners. They beat Eastern, and then they lost last week. So anything can happen, and we'll have to see what happens. 4 more weeks to go in the season there, and we'll have to see how that all plays out. But while that still 4 weeks left there, EKU basketball is underway. EKU Media Day was on Monday. You were there. And give us your impressions. I think, especially with the women's side, I think that I think Samantha Williams and her people were a little perturbed at that how low down in the rankings they were picked. I mean, after a 2-win season, we weren't surprised they were picked to finish last in the league, but they got very few votes, and I think I think she said they're going to be better than what people think.
Oh yeah, for sure. She said they're going to be a surprising team this year. They were picked last in the OVC, but they look pretty good. Just seeing them in practice on Monday, kind of giving a little glimpse of how her coaching style is too, was really good because she's on them. She's really tough, and she seems like she's an overall good coach. So it's going to be exciting to see that team. So many new faces, though, on that team. So it's going to be huge to see all these transfers. A lot of them are coming from some local schools too. One girl from Northern Kentucky, so it'll be interesting to see her play against her former team on the opening day for basketball, opening tip-off. So that should be exciting. But, yeah, they look pretty good, though. They have some good returners, too, coming back. Still a pretty young team, but I feel like they have the pieces to hopefully prove people wrong in the OVC and make a run this year and hopefully win a game in the OVC, because last year they didn't win a game in the OVC. So I've been talking to some players. I'm like, I'll be so happy to write a story about a winning OVC game, because last year was tough writing about all the losses.
Yeah, and Samantha Williams comes over from Louisville, where she was an assistant coach. And you were telling me that you're talking about how hardcore this lady is. I mean, they had the Halloween Hoop Fest last week. She was unhappy with the way they played in the scrimmage at the Halloween Hoop Fest. I mean, then come back at 6 a.m. the next morning to practice because she wasn't happy about the way they played in the scrimmage.
Yes, I was talking to a couple players in my classes, and she said they were like, man, Coach made us come back at 6 a.m. to do practice. And I'm like, what? Why? I'm like, it was only 10-minute scrimmage, so you can't really see a whole lot from that scrimmage. But she just said Coach wasn't happy with their effort and tempo out there, so they got him up early the next day and practicing hitting the hardwood. So that's good, though. It's good to see that she's really getting the work put in. Hopefully it'll be a fast tempo and fast paced, and looking pretty good, though. I think a big thing is going to be the 3-point shot. A couple of the players like Haley McCoy, she's going to be a dominant one to shoot the 3. Terry Goodlett is another one, point guard. I feel like she'll be able to pass the ball really well this year, and she's improved a lot since last season. So a couple of players to watch out for. Yeah,
you talk about fast pace and up tempo. That's exactly the way A.W. Hamilton and his team want to play. And they were picked 6th in the OVC preseason poll. Have not made the tournament in 4 years, but that's obviously the OVC tournament in 4 years. But that's the goal this year, and it's just weird not to see Nick Mayo out there, but
it is. Yeah,
you got to turn the page, and they've got a lot of talented players.
Oh, for sure, a lot of talented players, a lot of transfers as well. Same thing for them, and some local guys too coming in freshman wise. So they should be a good team this year. We talked to A.W. Hamilton on our podcast yesterday, actually, and he talked about how important this team is to get in over the summer, and they worked really hard to get ready for the season because, like you said, without Nick Mayo, some big shoes to fill there. And a couple of players like Jamar Brown is going to be a huge one to fill the shoes in. Todd Taylor's another big person as well, a transfer that came in this year. So a lot of people is going to fill them shoes for Nick Mayo, but I think they have the pieces where they could prove people wrong. Being 6th in the OVC in the preseason polls, that's not too bad. they kind of got room to prove people wrong and also to work. So it gives them motivation going into the season. Like, yeah, they think we're 6th, but they could be up at top pretty quick.
Yeah, like I said, we've all grown so used to seeing Nick Mayo out there, and we don't have Tay Weaver anymore. Tay Weaver transferred to St. Louis, so it's two very much crowd favorite type players. But
for sure,
like you said, Lachlan Anderson back.
Yep.
I know Peyton Broughton, obviously he's dealing with a knee injury right now. I think so. Hopefully he'll be back. But the two Kings and the Trey King and.
Yeah, and Trey King's looking really good this year, too. He's been putting on a lot of muscle, and he looks like a whole new person from last year, too. So that's really good to see. Same with Jamar Brown. I think Coach Hamilton said he gained about 20 pounds, and he's a lot more muscle this year on him. So that's really good to see. And they also have a lot of big guys, too. The height on that team is a lot better this year. They have 4 or 5 big guys they can go to at any time to be in the paint, rim protector, which that's really good because last year we had pretty much Lachlan Anderson, Nick Mayo as the 2 rim protectors. Yeah. So it's good to have more bodies and a longer bench too.
Yeah. Of course, local fans are very familiar with Michael Marino, who unfortunately lit up Madison Central when he was at Scott County. But people, I'm sure here locally, will be glad to know he's on their team now as well. But well, man, we appreciate you coming in. I really appreciate it. And like I said, Ricky was a little bit under the weather, so we're glad you could step in for us. And like I said, go to easternprogress.com, check it out. They do a lot of cool stuff. They do a lot of, they're kind of way ahead of the curve of us on doing podcasts and those kind of things. And just all kinds of fun stuff. Like, you talked real briefly about the story you guys did a while back about the first female sports editor of the Eastern Progress.
Yeah, that was a cool story. So we interviewed Marla Radner. She was the first female sports editor for the Eastern Progress. We had her in for a video with Hall of Fame coach Roy Kidd. So that was an awesome video, sit-down interview with her, and that's on our website as well, that video. But it was really cool kind of catching up with her. She was back here in the 70s and being the first female reporter to be allowed in the football locker room at EKU. So that was huge, too, especially because nowadays we're not allowed in the locker room or anywhere. So that's pretty cool to get that story and to have Coach Kidd kind of chime in, too, because he's getting old. He's 87 now, I believe. So he's getting old, but he remembered a lot of stuff, had some cool stories. And he kind of took over my job, too. He was asking questions. I'm like, Coach, let me ask the questions. But it was really cool. That was a good interview, and it's cool to catch up and network with some of those alumni, especially Hall of Fame alumni, too, like Marla. So it was great.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you on Saturday. Like a huge game. Like I said, folks,
huge game, yes.
You're here locally, Austin Peay's 25 in the rankings, Eastern just a little bit below them, getting some votes in the poll. So it's a huge, not only for the rankings, but for the standings. And it's obviously if we can get a big crowd out there. I know it's going to be a little bit chilly, but put on a jacket and come on out. Get some of those hand warmers or something and come on out. Or maybe you can have a couple of drinks before you come out of the parking lot and then come on in. But come on out and enjoy it. It should be a good game. And like I said, once again, appreciate you coming by. And we'll see you on Saturday. And we will be right back with EKU football coach Mark Elder.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Nuevo Vallarta, a neighborhood restaurant with indoor and patio seating, a family-friendly environment, and quality, authentic Mexican food at reasonable prices. Nuevo Vallarta.
All right, welcome back. We are here with EKU football coach Mark Elder. Thank you, Mark, so much for being on.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, are you dried out yet after last weekend? I mean, that was crazy.
So obviously there aren't many of those opportunities like that because plenty of rain, plenty of wind, but the combination of 20-mile-an-hour winds and it was a legit for the first half, a legit torrential downpour. Yeah. You don't often have wet. Limit your pass game. Wind can, but it wasn't even the wind. It was so wet that limited. We threw 10 passes and probably about 9 too many, if I could tell you the truth. So it was so wet. It was so wet that we had to actually move a little bit of our field goal to make some adjustments to it because there was just legit standing water on the field. So I'm dried out. I took a long hot shower after the game. That's for sure.
Yeah, because there was just a torrential downpour. There was standing water on most of the field for the first half, but you guys grinded out a 33-6 win. 34-6. No, 34-6. Yes.
33-6. Yeah, it was a nice win. I thought our defense played outstanding. We had all the subs in with 5 minutes to go on their last drive. And at that point, so for 55 minutes, we had given up 2 first downs and 20 yards of total offense. I mean, that's in 20 years of coaching, and I've been a part of a couple really, really good defenses, that was the best performance by a defense, statistically speaking. I had been around probably one of the better ones in EKU history. And clearly the weather played a part in that. I mean, it does limit you. But I was also proud of our offense because we were playing under the same circumstances, and we were still able to rush for 250 yards. We were able to put some points on the board. I was proud of our special teams. I mean, we kicked 4 field goals in those circumstances. So Sam did a great job, as did the snapper and holder. So no, it was a complete win by our, the full team, and proud of what they were able to do under some fun circumstances.
0 for 15 on 3rd down for Eastern Illinois. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we were playing well against the run. And so we were playing well in that category, so they weren't getting close. They weren't getting like 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s very often. They were getting, a little bit longer situations, and then passing's not a great option with the weather as it was. So I think that led to that being the case. Now they did get the 1 4th down, but other than that, guys did really well.
Yeah, you needed a hot shower because you were out there in a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even have a jacket on, a hat, nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't all that cold. I mean, it was upper 40s, low 50s, somewhere in that category. And we talked to our players, and this is, I think this is important. I mean, if your focus is on your performance in the game and those things, and not the weather, if you're so concerned about the weather, then you're not that concerned about your performance in the game. Yeah. And so if we talk to our players about that stuff, I always say, hey, dress appropriately and however you need to, so that you can focus on what matters, and that's the game. And it wasn't that cold, so I wanted to go out there and if it had been 20 degrees, I'd have a jacket on and so forth to dress appropriately, but it wasn't that cold out. Yeah. And you're going to get wet either way. So it's like, hey, go out there and I can focus on the game and not the wet, without a jacket and all that stuff. So can our players. And that was what it was about. Now, if it was, again, as I said, if it was 20 degrees or if it was 33 degrees and wet like that, I'd had some more clothes on, because then it would have hampered my ability to focus on the right stuff. But no, our kids did a great job. They handled all that well, and you just, as a coach, you want to make sure that you're living the way that you're asking them to live. Yeah,
there must be something about Eastern Illinois, because the last time I went there was in 2015, and we had snow. They actually had to come out before the game and clear the snow off of the field. So it's maybe that trip to Charleston's long enough to begin with, and then the weather makes it even worse.
Yeah, I'm buddies with, so Adam Cushing is a friend of mine. We've known each other before he got the job there. And we were talking. He actually shot me a text and said, "Welcome to Charleston," because it was just such a terrible, miserable weather day. So I mean, I think that they get a lot of that. I mean, it's a little bit further north; it gets some more cold, and it's. I've only been there twice, but both times it's been just gray and dark, and certainly doesn't look like Miami or anything like that. So
yeah, well, I mean, in so many ways, a huge win, obviously, because the OVC right now is just really kind of up for grabs at this point. I mean, UT Martin at 4-1, then you guys, P and SEMO all at 3-1. And Jacksonville's lurking there at 3-2 as well, the 5-time defending champs. So every game's important. Of course, highlighting the fact that you guys have got 2 of those 3 teams tied for second place are playing right over here at Roykins Stadium on Saturday.
No, this is a huge game, as they all are. I mean, when you're in a championship run, they all matter because, like I said to the team last week, I said, hey, guys, we're in a championship game this weekend. I said, look at it however you want. I mean, first of all, Eastern Illinois was a really, really good Ophir team. I mean, I know that sounds a little oxymoron, but they really were. They were playing a lot of close games. I mean, every game was by a score, essentially, late in the fourth quarter. But my point was, and I elaborated to say this, is it doesn't matter that they're 0-8. If we lose this one, we're out. So it is a championship game. Every game is a championship game down this stretch when you got numerous teams that are in the battle that it is going to come down to every single game. So, no, I think this is a big one. I mean, Ossipee is a really good team. They're 5-3, 3-1, just like we are. Got some big victories. A couple like us that sure they wish they had back. They had another shot at. But I think they're a really good team on both sides of the football. Their special teams are really good as well. Well-coached team. Thought it was interesting. So I listened to all of the coaches' interviews during the week, and you talked about Tennessee Martin, Jason Simpson, who's been there for 14 years. He was asked about, because of his experience in the league, how does this year compare? And he said, gosh, like the last time that it was anything even close to this, where there were so many good teams, was like 2013 when 3 teams made the playoffs and all 3 won a game in the playoffs. I mean, it was a really competitive league, and he was saying that he thought that this was even more competitive and even better than it's ever been. So, and I don't know the history like way back, but I got to think that this is one of the more competitive years in the Ohio Valley Conference. When Jacksonville State, who was a preseason top 10, top 5 on some of them, is sitting in 5th place, and not because they're not a great team, they are, but it's just been other teams are also at that same level. I mean, there's really 4 or 5 teams that are playing really, really good football, and wish our conference just got a little bit more recognition than what it really does as far as how good a conference it is.
Yeah, I think P probably has the win, maybe not signature win, but I mean they beat Jacksonville by about 30 points a couple weeks ago, and that's unbelievable. And Jacksonville has 2 losses in the league, but they did beat Eastern Washington. They're a good team as well. So that was probably the eye-popping win of the year for anybody in the league, I would think, so far.
Yeah, just how
40 points, I think
they were up by a lot at one point, and I don't remember exactly what that a lot was, but it was a lot to a little at one point, and they were just on fire that day, and I don't think it was certain that wasn't Jacksonville's best showing that they've ever had. But I think that was a big one, and they're a really good team. They are well coached, good on. They don't have a bunch of weaknesses. That's what I guess when I watch Austin P, I look at them, and you don't see a ton to exploit. And that's not doom or gloom. I'm just saying, it's not like, oh man, hey, this corner, he stinks. We're going after that guy. I mean, they're just very balanced. They've got a bunch of good football players. You're just going to have your good football players play well against their good football players head to head, because there's not a ton of weaknesses. They've got good, solid players at every spot.
Yeah, and you guys continue to just run the ball really efficiently with multiple backs, but it's really Darryl McCluskey and Alonzo Booth are giving the majority of the carries. And it's like you said on Monday, when the conditions last week, when the other team knows you're going to run and you're still able to get 250 yards, you're doing something right.
Yes, absolutely. And because it was very clear. I mean, as I said, we attempted 10 passes, and it was at least 9 too many. We everybody knew we were going to run it, and as we should have, and to be able to still rush for 250 when it's very clear that that's what's going to happen. There's no deception in this. It is run. Now I'll say this: before that, I mean the conditions limited our pass game, but before that, I mean the 2 games before that, we threw for over 300 against Martin, and I want to say 260, 270 against Murray. So we're getting to a better spot with balance, which is what you want. I thought we were struggling early. Really, our only effectiveness on a consistent basis was coming from our run game, and that was a wide variety of things. From we were having some sack issues to we had some drop issues, and it wasn't just a lot of times if the throw game's not working, it's like, well, clearly the quarterback. It wasn't necessarily that. There was areas where that could be better, areas where protection could be better, areas where receiving could be better. Think we're getting in a better situation with that. Obviously, we had that setback this past week as far as the ability to show that, because you're not throwing the ball. At least I'm not throwing the ball a whole bunch in those circumstances when you don't have to. I mean, we're putting up points and moving the football, so don't need to go force a hand that's not there for you.
Yeah, and we talked about it at the press room Monday. As many times as Booth and McCluskey have touched the ball this year, 1 fumble between the 2 of them.
Yeah, no, they've done great. We've done a very, very nice job of protecting the football this year. So we're top 25 in fewest turnovers. I think we're second or third in the conference in fewest turnovers. We're +5 in the turnover margin. So I'm very, very pleased with where we're at. I think we've got 9 turnovers and 14 takeaways. So we've done a great job with that. We need to continue because that's a huge. I mean, that's stat number one that we talk about. We're going to talk about a bunch of stats, but stat number one that we talk about, outside of just scoring more points, obviously, that's the most important thing that leads to winning is the turnover margin. And I track that stuff. In the OVC, there's been 20 games played in conference, and 3 games were even turnover margin. And then the other 17, it's 15 wins to 2 losses for the team that had the turnover margin. Whether it was +1 or +4, it doesn't matter. Yeah. 15 to 2 as far as win-loss if you win the turnover margin. So it's huge. So pleased with how those guys have done. Thought we've done a very nice job protecting the ball.
Yeah, and you did mention the quarterback, so you did switch back to Parker McKinney a few games ago, and he kind of gives you that kind of running dynamic. He had another rushing touchdown on Saturday, and maybe just a little more consistent than Connor Blount was being.
He does add a different element to the game as far as that stuff is concerned than just a drop back quarterback. He can take off and run. We have some design run plays with him. We have some keep run plays with him, read run plays. So some of those things that we do with him, I think he does a nice job with it. I mean, he's not going to be Pat White where you're running the triple option or something along those lines, but he certainly adds an element. And if the rush falls apart, he's going to take off and extend a play or take off and get some yardage. So he's done a nice job and throwing the ball well for us. He's had a couple. We had 2 straight weeks where he had a turnover that led to an immediate score right then. That's something that obviously we didn't have this past week, and we got to continue to not have that because those were big plays that contributed to a loss and contributed to what was a runaway score, getting back to a very tight game. So we've got to clean that up. But he's a redshirt freshman. He's playing really well, doing a lot of good things. He's helping us advance to football. He's helping us score a bunch of points, makes a bunch of plays. We're certainly excited about Parker.
Yeah, he's a perfect example of the change of that redshirt rule where he played at the end of last year, but you can now play 4 games and still redshirt. And so you guys will still get him hypothetically for 3 more years after this.
Yep, and this was the game that he started playing in.
Yeah, last year,
Austin Peay. So
you guys were down, and he came in.
We were. Yeah. Yep, and the great story about that I've told numerous times is, so the week before, Parker was on scout team. I mean, he was looking at cards, hadn't been in the game plan meetings for quarterbacks and the whole season. He was just running the scout team stuff. We do Sunday night football with all of our young guys and run around and play football and call some plays, but it's pretty basic stuff and wasn't really a part of the travel squad at all, and then had some injuries, and next thing you know, he's the backup. So testament to the hard work he had put in because, when those scout meetings were done, he would always come in and sit in the quarterback meeting and try to pick up as much as he could. And obviously he was paying attention because he was in quarterback meetings for just that 1 week fully because he was no longer on scout team. And then the quarterback that started the game pops his knee and Parker's in. Nobody else can play. So in rolls Parker on the sideline, and I got to say, I was nervous. I think I clearly, based upon how things went, I was more nervous than he was. You got this true freshman who you've seen him play a little bit of Sunday night football. You saw him play in high school, but he's getting ready to play big boy ball, and in a tough situation, we're on the road, we're behind, and it's the third quarter. There's not a ton of time left. You got a quarter and a half to go play and win this game, and we're down. And we have a great leader. LJ was a tremendous leader, one of the better leaders I've ever been around. And so we get into the huddle, and on the sideline, we're huddling, talking through stuff, and LJ was kind of addressing the offense and fifth-year senior captain, heart and soul. Big strong guy. Heart and soul of this team, the unquestioned leader of the team. And Parker shushed him. He's like, hey, LJ, I got this. Okay, so here you go. And it was one of those Okay, we might have something here. This is good or terrible. I'm not sure which, but I'm at least excited to see this. He was taking control of the situation, and so that was really neat to see. And then he goes out there and played well. I mean, threw a strike for on a third down where he got there was a flag because he got smoked after the play. On a late hit, and he gets up and goes down and throws the winning touchdown. I mean, so he showed he had some grit, showed he had a little something to him, and this was kind of the start of Parker's tenure. And then obviously it was a battle and so forth, but now we're back with him as our guy.
Yeah, the kid from Coalfield, Tennessee.
That's right. Major metropolitan area if you've never been.
I have no idea where that is.
It's very, very similar. If you've ever been in New York City or Los Angeles, they're very, very similar towns, So it's itty bitty. It's a small little town, and the family's fantastic. They're great people, and he's like a legend up there. And there's a crew of them that come to like every single game. So he put up huge numbers there. He's a 4-year starter, I think, on both sides of the football. He's top couple in Tennessee history for throwing and touchdowns and all those things.
Yeah. And we had obviously had Sam over there on Monday, and we always give Sam a hard time because he's from Florida, and the high school he went to was voted the second worst nickname in the state of Florida. They're the Sand Crabs. And
what's worse?
The Hobos. There's actually a high school in Florida with the nickname the Hobos.
I would say
so. The Sand Crabs were worse than the Hobos, but Sam's doing a great job. And Sam has never missed an extra point. It was like 62 of 62 or something on extra points.
Well, you got to talk about.
I know.
I mean, why you got to bring it up? Sam's been doing a great job for us, and I think actually a few weeks ago you had asked about him because he'd been great for us. Last year he did a great job for us, and we're like 5 weeks into the season and
attempted 3 field goals.
And I think you'd asked me something about it and said like, "Hey, is something wrong?" And I was like, "Not really. We've got a ton of belief in it. It's just circumstantial. I mean, it's
when you guys get in the red zone, you score touchdowns. Though.
Right,
that's a big part of it too.
I was going to say the other part is that that changed this past week under the circumstances. We had 7 red zone. We scored on all 7, but we only scored 3 touchdowns. Well, prior to that, we were 9th in the country in touchdown percent. So, we want touchdowns, not field goals. So, I mean, if Sam's not kicking field goals, I'm not exactly distraught about that because if it's because of scoring touchdowns, that's fantastic. So, he just hadn't had a bunch of opportunities, and then I think you see the past couple of weeks we've thrown him out there and under terrible conditions for the fact that we threw him out there 5 times. I mean, it shows the trust that I have, that we have as a staff, and him. Not only him, but the snap and hold too, because under those conditions, that was Alex Shelton and Phil. I mean, those 2 guys did a great job as well. But shows our belief in Sam. So, now I'm going to just let you know, if he misses an extra point, I'm clearly blaming you.
Me.
Yeah, better not be an important one. So.
Well, all of your game's important the rest of the way out. So, like I said, if you want to talk to the fans here and say, whatever you think you can, I mean, I want you to come out Saturday. It's going to be a big day. It's going to be a little bit chilly, but
it's beautiful. It's football weather. This is perfect. It's going to be like 50 degrees, perfect sweatshirt weather, which is what it should be for football weather. Yeah, put your hoodie on. It's going to be fantastic. The sun is going to be out. We are playing for a championship. This is real football in November. When we got everything in front of us. So I mean, that's the reality. Is we control our own destiny. We win this weekend. We win the rest of them. We're going to be OVC champions of some sort, Now it could be a I don't know. I just know we got to win this weekend. But we're playing for real important stuff. I mean, this is a conference championship run that we're trying to make, and we're right in the thick of it. So beautiful day out. Love to see you guys. You have been fantastic so far this year as far as coming out and supporting us and creating a great environment for our players and a terrible one for our opponents. So please come out and support us again this weekend. We certainly play best when you guys do.
It's 1 p.m. Roy Stadium on Saturday at number 25 Austin Peay and EKU.
Yep.
Who's just outside the top 25, and they will certainly be ranked if they win this one. So
Just want to win this weekend, you know?
Doesn't matter if you're ranked.
The rankings don't matter. Let's win championships. We got to take the next step to do that. So, yeah, of course, we'd love to be ranked, but that's not what really matters. We just got to win the ones that are in front of us, and those ranking things always take care of themselves. You know, you win them, and you end up happy with where you're ranked.
You get the playoff bid. It's all that matters. You don't care if you're ranked
playing.
or not. Who cares?
Keep playing. Yeah, game 13. That's what we want. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody, if you're going to be in town, come on out Saturday, 1 o'clock. It should be a great matchup. Peaks is a team that can score a lot of points, and you guys are the top defensive team in the league, and the top rushing team in the league. So it's it should be a good, fun battle. So come on out and check it out. We appreciate you watching the show this week, and we'll see you next week.
The Richmond Register Sports Show is brought to you by Nuevo Vallarta, a neighborhood restaurant with indoor and patio seating, a family-friendly environment, and quality, authentic Mexican food at reasonable prices. Nuevo Vallarta.
Almost 2 decades. That's right. I've covered local sports in Madison County for almost 2 decades. The Madison Central Indians, the Madison Southern Eagles, the Model Patriots, the Berea Pirates, the EKU Colonels, and the Berea College Mountaineers. I've covered them all. Football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, track, cheerleading, golf, youth sports, and more. It's all being covered by the Richmond Register. Join us for a brand new weekly sports program. Watch the Richmond Register Sports Show every Thursday at 9 p.m. Be sure to like, share, and follow us on all our social networks and to subscribe to the Richmond Register online or get your own subscription delivered. If it's sports in Madison County, we cover it.